Hello and welcome to the Sun Racing preview of the Vertem Futurity Stakes at Doncaster and the Showcase meeting at Cheltenham in association with Betway. I'm delighted to be joined by Chad Yeomans from Betway and Jack Keene from Sun Racing to discuss what promises to be a cracking afternoon of action. First up, we're going to talk about the Vertem Futurity Stakes, in which British trainers caused consternation by not entering any of their horses, apart from Andrew Balding's Kamiko in the race this week. Aidan O'Brien is represented by 5 top-class runners. Jack, come to you first. I know you're a big fan of Innisfree, who's up there with Mogul as one of the favourites.
Yeah, I am. Obviously, Mogul's the hot favourite. He's probably going to be the one to beat, but I am quite keen on this Innisfree. He won the Bereford Stakes last time. Aidan O'Brien's won that with some proper stars in recent years. It's also been the pointer to this race for the likes of Saxon Warrior, Casamento, St Nicholas Abbey. They've all won the Beresford and come on to follow up in the Futurity, so it's a good pointer to this race. And he's quite a big green thing. He's still learning on the job. He showed that when he carried his head quite high when winning the Beresford. But I like the fact he's been in a few scraps and he's improving with every start. Do think he'll be better next year, and I will have a couple of quid on him, I think, for the Derby before Saturday. Just improve every visit to the racecourse. So I'm quite keen on taking the favourite on with Innisfree.
Excellent. I mean, Aidan O'Brien loves a work in progress at this kind of thing, doesn't he? So hopefully he can be another star in the making. Chad, what are your thoughts on the race?
None of them are major standouts. I think with Aidan O'Brien hasn't really dominated. The only thing that's dominated this year has been Pinatubo, hasn't it? Really, all 2-year-old races. But he doesn't seem to have something that's at the head of the market for everything or up there. Mogul by default's kind of been put there because of his 2 out of 3 wins. Was obviously backed. He was 5-4 when he went off on debut. And O'Brien's horses don't often go off that short when. If you look at his better horses over the years, some of them have started at huge prices and been given really nice introductions. Mogul flashes, I'd say, with the flashiest of his lot. I tend to agree with Innisfree. I think he's big, raw, and will probably be a better 3-year-old. But I want Andrew Balding's Kamiko to win. Just the Betway ambassador, Andrew Balding, should I mention. Fair play to him for entering and for keeping him in. He's been working well at home. So I think he deserves his place, second in a Group 2 and a Group 1. You mentioned earlier off camera that it might be a bit of a tactical affair with 5 Aidan O'Brien horses. But I don't think he's going to be short of pace. I think he'll be able to go with them if needs be. It's just on the day who's best, I guess.
Do you think that Aidan O'Brien might try and, as I think Jack said earlier, he's got all bases covered in this race. Do you think that is a possible concern?
Yes and no. 6 run a race. Such a wide track like Doncaster shouldn't be that much of an issue, really.
Fair enough. Well, personally, I don't think Kamiko is going to have enough star quality to win this race. I don't think he's quite a proper Group 1 horse, and I think Mogul or Innisfree, both of them look to have the star quality that you need. As Jack alluded to, Innisfree probably like to be a better horse next year, but they're both him and Mogul are kind of big babies, aren't they? So they both could go upwards fairly quickly.
And there's only £1 in it in the rating, so
exactly,
I mean,
yeah. The only thing I would say that it implies that Aidan's number 1 is Mogul, but you just don't know, do you really? Particularly as he's had horses at bigger prices run well in this race before.
Well, that's the thing with Aidan. At this time of year, some horses just take a massive step forward, kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, and I just think he's got such a nice progressive profile. And I keep coming back to it. That Beresford Stakes is such a good
pointer.
Good pointer that race. So I'm quite keen on this chap.
Lovely, and I just give a bunch of Louisiana, who I think is improving hand over fist and won well last time, and I think he's got a bit more to come, even though he probably won't be good enough to trouble his 2 stablemates. Moving on to Cheltenham, which is the opening Cheltenham meeting of the season. Jumps fans rejoice. First up, we're going to talk about the handicap chase that opens the card, which actually is a very intriguing contest this year. Old Boy and kind of Cheltenham standing dish, Cogery, is back to have some fun, alongside Captain Catterstock, the Young Master, Keeper Hill, Just a Sting, and a smattering of others. Chad, come to you first this time. Thoughts on this cracking contest?
Cogery stays on his feet. He won't be far away.
Yeah.
Nigel's also in absolute fantastic form, aren't they? As they always start the season. As they start the season, always a lot more forward than others. At a big price, I can't get away from Manila Rocco. Placed in a Gold Cup. He's now down to 147.
He's about 6 miles though, doesn't he?
Ideally, would have, yeah. He won the 4 mile a few years ago. John Joe's horses weren't the same last year as they have been. They've been off for a couple of years, really, but they seem to have been better this year. Is there plenty of winners throughout the summer?
They have been well backed in the market actually recently as well, which implies people think
they are definitely in a better place than they have been. He's been certainly banging in more winners. He's got a nice new team of younger horses as well, but. Manila Rocco likes Cheltenham, and I just can't believe we've got a horse placed in the Gold Cup now rated 147. Last season didn't go right.
Yeah, he's about 2 stone lower than he was, isn't he? I mean,
it's nuts, and we could be on Saturday afternoon. It could be one of those things where he wins and go, I can't believe it went unbacked, because He's got a place in the Gold Cup, loves Cheltenham, stays. It's not the best field. It's competitive, but it's not the strongest.
Yep.
Captain Cotty's Rock is at the head of the market. I mean, I think he's rated 137, 136, and he's been beaten on his
140 now. 140.
Oh, is he 140?
Yeah, he's
Okay,
140, yeah. Not that it really matters, but...
No. So Minella Rocco's only £7.
Yeah, he's £7, and he's a much better horse. Yeah.
And he's
well, probably. Well, yeah. All right, how about, okay, Jack, what about you? Anything you particularly like in this race?
Well, I agree about Coggery. I think Nigel's obviously very well forward at the moment, as they always are.
Yeah.
He's won this race before. I think he was placed in it last year.
Just get tipped off last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he was just touched off. I mean, the drying ground is plus for him. He likes a decent surface, so I'm expecting a big run from him. And this Irish horse, Natractali Abu,
Yeah.
easy for me to say.
Bit of Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, he's quite interesting. He was third in the Kerry National last time. If he comes over and runs, I think he's quite interesting. But Coggery would be the one for me, I think.
Yeah, Coggery, he won this 2 years ago, second last year, absolutely loves the place, on a decent mark. Like to relish the test. I just put a little one forward for just a sting for Harry Fry. This horse had a woeful second half of last season. It was absolutely awful.
Yeah.
But his first half of the season was tremendous.
Very promising, yeah.
Really
He won a good race at Exeter or something.
He did,
like that, yeah.
absolutely right. Good knowledge. And off 134, I think that's a pretty decent mark. He obviously goes well fresh. And Harry Fry's got a couple in this, but I think he could be the one, the first one of the string. And hopefully he can run a good race. It's a pretty good race, I have to say, all in all. But on to the second one now, which sees very impressive Chepstow winner Torpillo, or Torpillo, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but Soviet Pimpernel in there for Ireland, Kerr Sublime also in there for Ireland, Gordon Elliott, Kel Destin, who remarkably got beaten on the flat last week at Bath, which is really quite extraordinary considering how low a rating he had, and a smattering of others including Nelson River for Tony Carroll. Jack, come to you this time. You got anything on this race at all?
I think Torpillo will be quite tough to beat. He could probably do with the ground easing a tad because he's one who does like to get his toe in. I think if they get any rain, he'll be very hard to beat. But I think if it's a nice surface, Kerr Sublime is interesting. Some of that juvenile form,
absolutely.
Second in the Triumph.
Placed in Triumph.
Yeah, so I mean he's a smart horse. You always got to be a bit wary of that Triumph form going into the next season. You might take a few runs to see if the race was any good. But I think Kerr Sublime's probably. It depends which way the ground goes, but if it's good to softish, I'll probably side with Kerr Sublime.
He's got the class aspect in the race, isn't he? And, most of the others have got that to prove. At least he comes in there with a very decent showing in top company. Chad, what about you?
I'd put the Keldestan run at Bath way behind him.
You'd have to, I think, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
really?
I don't think it's a completely different ball game. 2 miles at Bath and.
I still can't believe he didn't win that race.
Too much was made of it.
Well, no, I know.
He was running off like 46, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was crazy how he did get beat. But he just drifted heavily. He went off 4 to 5. And if you've got a horse that's rated 66, going off 4 to 5, and when it opened up 4 to 7, something wasn't,
strange, isn't it? Yeah.
But
he came there cruising as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was very soft. It was very soft that day.
Yes.
I don't think it'd be as soft there as it's. I think it'd be softer at Bath than it would be at Cheltenham. I don't think it'd be that deep at Cheltenham. I think you'll see a better horse go from the front.
He might need the run, to be fair.
I think he will do. I think Nichol's horses over the past few weeks have needed the run. I think he had a few at Fakenham last weekend, and he's starting to have a few more winners. But they generally have, especially the Chepstow fixture. He needed the first opening Chepstow fixture. He had more horses beaten than anything ever.
Yeah.
Trevelyan's Corn was out the back, and after travelling well, they tanked through the race, but they don't pick up and find. I think that you'll see a different horse in Keldestan, and Nelson River, who for Tony Carroll's had a fantastic season on the flat. Good fourth in the Triumph. Like you say, you don't know quite how good the Triumph form is any year, but won the juvenile hurdle, at the November fixture last year. Beat a few nice types, including Fanfan de Soy, who looks to reoppose again, and then finished fourth in the Triumph. And if it's trained by a more fashionable trainer, BFAV, would you say?
I'll be up there for sure. I agree with you. I think Nelson River's got a big chance if he's back to his best. Again, unfortunately for Tony Carroll, he's not renowned for having good jumps winners. I know he's had a couple in the past, but that's the only concern with me. As you say, if he was trained by someone else, he'd be out there with the favourites. Soviet Pimpernel is one I like. The Irish do tend to have a very good record in these kind of races at this time of year at Cheltenham. They always send a couple over who usually run well because they've got race fitness on their side. And I think he won well last time out. He beat a decent field, and yeah, he's improving. I think he's got a good chance. Kerr Sublime, like you said, has got a good chance as well. And Torpillo, if the ground goes right for him, he's also got a fine shout. But I will go with Soviet Pimpernel. I think he's going to improve once more. Moving on to the 310. Interesting race this, with the likes of Magrossi, Forest Bihan, Capeland, Masterwork, Knockner Noose. There's a kind of horses from all over the place here, and decent horses from the bottom of the weights, decent horses at the top of the weights, some improvers lurking, I'm sure. Chad, what about you? What do you think about this one?
I think Forest Bihan is going to the Old Rowan at Aintree. I think that the owner came out. The trainer came out yesterday and said the owner wants to go to Aintree, as opposed to Cheltenham.
Well, it shows they regard him.
Knocks that one out.
highly.
Yeah. I think that's probably the right move as well. I think Frodon and Kalashnikov go and probably get a third. The horse I like is Paul Henderson's Do It for the Village, who likes Cheltenham. Disappointed at Chepstow loss on his reappearance, but in that race, the front three finished well clear, and they're all front runners. Horses in behind that finished tailed off. They had a few issues in the straight, and I think Maracuja of Dan Skelton's was also mounted in the chute. So there's something, that race was just a bit odd, and a lot of horses underperformed, but was well backed overnight, well backed on course as well. And I just think this race is probably, if strip fitter, it's probably be more his liking than that Chepstow race.
Okay, great. Jack, what about you?
Yeah, well, I quite like this Brelan Das. Like you did allude to it earlier, some of Nichols's have been winning first time out, but some have been needing the run. So that's my only slight concern. But obviously he was third in the Grand Annual in March. I think he's still an improving chaser. He's only £2 higher here. He has won fresh in the past, so it's not as big a concern as perhaps some of the other Nichols runners. But I still think he's got a steadily progressive profile, and we know what Nichols likes to win these big Saturday pots, doesn't he? So I think he'll have him ready, and I'm expecting him to go really well.
Excellent, lovely stuff. I'm quite keen on Magroti for Richard Newland. Just keeps winning, keeps improving. Dr. Richard Newland has done very well with him, I have to say. He's very good with his type, but he's really struck up a very nice sequence. I think off 152 he might still not be handicapped to the hilt. And I do like at this time of year horses who have proven that they're in good form, because a lot of them he's coming in off the back of a break.
Race fitness is key at this
Race
stage.
fitness is key, and the fact that he won on his reappearance. A difficult track to get home at, like Kelso. It's just that he's raring to go in red hot form. So he'd be my choice. It is a very tricky contest, but he'd be my pick. Lovely guys. So we should move on to best bets of the day. I think, Jack, start with you.
Oh, I'll go for Innisfree up at Donny in the Futurity, please, Billy.
Excellent. Chad?
I think if Stony Mountain runs in the Temps at Cheltenham, I think he's a cracking each way bet.
Great stuff. And I'm going to go with Just a Sting for Harry Fry, provided he can start his season in the same vein that he did last year.
And I'll just quickly mention as well, Newbury, Horace Hill Stakes, Kinross should win and could be a Guineas contender next year.
Excellent. Is that the thing that bolted
Rafe
up at
Beckett's
Newmarket?
thing, yeah.
Oh, that was so
Absolutely
impressive,
stand up.
wasn't it?
Rafe Beckett seems to think he's one of the best 2-year-olds he's ever had. Really.
Fantastic. Great.
So
Lovely
keep an eye
mention
out for
for
him.
that. Will do indeed. Hope you've all enjoyed watching, and best of luck for Saturday. It's sure to be a fantastic day of action.